Hey, welcome back to Weekly Roundup. My name is Frankie.
And I'm Ryan from The Coffee Break.
And if it is not for the coffee break, we wouldn't have this show, right? The coffee break helps us to compile all the interesting news of the week. And this show is brought to you by the coffee break.
Remember to subscribe to stay informed.
Okay, so what is the biggest news of the week, right? It's none other than the US SEC has finally approved the Bitcoin spot ETF.
So long. I think I have read on Twitter, there were so many news. Approved, not approved.
Yeah.
Going to be approved when? Next year, next week, you know?
Correct. But what's impressive is actually the speed of all these fund management houses, right? Start trading the Bitcoin spot ETF. So the SEC approved this Bitcoin spot ETF on Wednesday, right? And then all these ETF launched the next day itself. On Thursday already, everything started trading. There were a total of 11 spot Bitcoin ETF that started trading, including BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust, Grayscale, ARK21 shares, blah, 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 right? So all these things, on the first day of trading itself, managed to garner about $4.6 billion worth of trading.
Is it the highest for a ETF?
I'm not sure whether it is highest or not, but 4.6 billion on one day trade is quite impressive.
How did it go, dude? Only 1 billion in the first 3 trading days.
Only 1 billion. When was this?
2004.
Right. So this is 4.6 times more compared to gold ETF.
Looks like it, man.
Anyway, I also find something interesting, right? 4.6 billion traded. Obviously, the first impression will be, maybe Bitcoin prices would go up.
It pumped. At the launch, it pumped. So I was on the phone, like, wow, okay lah. This is the year lah.
Correct. From 42,000, it shot up to 47,000.
Yeah, all the news,
which is quite impressive.
Yeah.
But very fast, it came back down. Consolidating around. I think it's around 46,000 currently.
At the time we're recording about this price lah. Today, I think about
yes,
about
correct.
46.
Correct. So a lot of people are wondering, now the ETF launched already, how come there is no further pump on Bitcoin, right? I think one of the key reasons is because if you look at the trading of Bitcoin itself, most of the volume actually happened when Bitcoin price was hovering around 14,000 to 30,000. It was during this range. It was a huge volume at that point in time. So what I suspect is that all this volume is actually made up from all these 11 fund management houses. They have been accumulating all the Bitcoins that they could at a cheap price. And then once the SEC approved, all they did was just to repackage all this Bitcoin into ETF and then started trading.
I'm not surprised lah.
Yeah. So they can make one round of money over there first lah, right? Because their cost is only like 14,000 to 20,000 and now it is trading at 46,000.
And they also earn fees lah.
Correct, exactly. So because all this ETF that is trading in the market now, the inventory actually comes from Bitcoin that they bought when it was 14,000 to 30,000. So if you think about it, right, it actually didn't really touch the Bitcoin trading. That is one of the reasons why Bitcoin didn't continue to shoot up. Because they're just utilizing the existing inventory that they have.
So this is the very first week lah, or first day lah. So I think what Stan Chart analysts said that was that they think these ETFs could draw $50 to $100 billion this year alone.
Wow.
So there'll be a big influx of money coming in if that prediction comes true lah.
Correct. So if let's say what Standard Chart say is true, right, 100 billion, and if let's say this inventory has already been exhausted, what fund managers need to do is to continue to buy Bitcoin to fund this ETF. That will create the new wave of demand on the Bitcoin price, and hopefully that would be the next catalyst for Bitcoin to continue to go up.
Yeah, because Bitcoin supply is limited, right? Only 21 million Bitcoins.
Correct.
And the next halving, which is the reward, is estimated to happen April, May this year.
Yes, correct.
So fewer Bitcoins? No, not fewer Bitcoins. The amount remains the same at 21 million Bitcoins, but there's no
more
supply
demand.
There's more demand lah. So what happens when there is more demand than
more demand, same supply? There's only one way, right? Yeah. But coincidentally, there's another catalyst on the crypto industry during this period of time, during April of May. And that is the potential approval of Ethereum spot ETF. We already saw Ethereum price going up already, right?
Yep.
Currently, it is hovering around 2006.
I think about 10%?
About 10%
since the launch.
Since the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah.
So if history repeats itself, maybe fund managers are buying Ethereum now to stock it up to prepare for the May approval.
Impending launch.
So maybe that's the reason why Ethereum has been going up.
Do you think the public is going to adopt this? Do you think the Insti guys, this is just a way for them to make money sort of from fees alone, right?
Right.
But on top of that, do you think the Insti guys will come in and eventually more public and, retailers being retailers would also be dragged in?
It is easier to come in with the ETF. Because in the past, the only way for you to get your hands on crypto is to go to crypto exchanges, right? And we all know all these crypto exchanges, they are not regulated by SEC. So institutions cannot touch. Retailer, they can touch, but the risk is very high. And because trading crypto is slightly different from trading the conventional stocks. So if you're not familiar with how crypto trades, it can be a little bit challenging at first. But with the ETF, it's the same way as you buy a stock.
Easier to diversify lah.
Easier to diversify, easier to adopt.
Easier access to cryptocurrency. So
Exactly.
family offices,
Correct.
all that can start to see, you know what, I need to diversify my portfolio.
Correct.
And I can't buy on any exchanges because, it's a bit hard to control. Whereas ETF, yeah.
So because of that, I think there will be a new wave of new investors coming into this crypto space.
Will we see what happened to 2021 where we saw graphic cards go up? Because mining remains a big thing for Bitcoin, for example. Will we see this kind of spillover effects?
That one I'm not sure, right? But so this is how I see it. If there are more and more miners, of course that is good for crypto industry. That means it is more decentralized.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it remains to be seen what will happen on the mining side of things.
Yeah, it might even push for green energy lah, because it's consumes a lot of energy to mine Bitcoin, right? So it may also have spillover effect where where the demand goes up, maybe the push for green energy goes up, because Bitcoin always has this very how do I put this reputation, right, that it consumes a lot of energy and it's not very environmentally friendly. Yeah, this is some of the spillover effects that remains to be seen, but who knows, it can happen.
So Bitcoin had a good start in 2024. Our Bursa Malaysia stocks market also did very well.
Not too bad.
Not too bad, right? So for context, at the end of 2023, the Bursa index was trading at around 1,450 points. Within just 1 week, it went up and crossed 1,005.
What was the catalyst? Happy New Year, New Me?
Maybe all these fund managers, they just came back from holiday and then they noticed that, it's time to rebalance the portfolio or whatever. So they started to buy up some of the stocks. That could be one of the reasons, right?
It even hit 1,005. Then after that, it sort of subdued. But hovering about 1,149? 1,480?
Yeah. Now, what's impressive is also the trading volume. Right. On average, Bursa usually trades around 3.3 billion shares, somewhere around that range. And in terms of value, it's about 2 billion ringgit daily. But a miracle happened on Bursa Malaysia last week, where the trading volume went up to 6.62 billion shares.
Double
of the average, right? And in terms of value, it was 3.74 billion ringgit exchanged hand. Exchanged hand, what the hell am I saying? Exchange hands.
Any stock tips for us or not? Please let us know in the comment. Not too far off, so we've also got the digital bank space heating up. Just last week, 2 more players are going live, Boost Bank and also Aeon Bank. Right? Boost Bank is of course being the fintech arm of Axiata, and also its partner RHB Banking Group has obtained the approval from BNM and also the Ministry of Finance to actually commence operation as of 15 January. They do pilot for family and friends first.
Right.
The next one actually is Aeon Bank, which has also obtained the approvals to commence business.
There's a slight difference between the Boost Digital Bank and the Aeon Digital Bank, right? Yeah, one is a conventional digital bank.
One is Islamic.
Yeah.
So Aeon is going to be the first Islamic digital bank to launch. Yeah, so we've got 3 players now, getting a bit more heated. Competition is building up. 2 more remaining, which is the CAFS consortium and also the C1, the C Money and the YTL. So the pressure must be building at these 2 groups. Right? GXB itself, when it first launched, it hit 100,000 customer milestone in just 2 weeks when the services were first opened to public.
Wow, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is to see how these digital banks will eventually, what will be their niche, right? So with Boost, you've got Boost Credit today. They've got also their lending to SMEs today already. So they might go into that niche, right? Aeon Credit, always known to be personal lending, personal financing. So they are going into that niche, right? Grab maybe could be the BNPL.
Correct. Buy now, pay later. But buy now, pay later is already a product of the Grab ecosystem. So as a bank, maybe they want to focus more on other stuff.
Should be lending also lah.
Should be lending.
Maybe
Eventually
BNPL will be the first start lah, because they don't have a debit card yet. So you need sort of like a debit card to then launch a BNPL service or to use the BNPL service, right?
But from what I know, GX Bank is going to launch their debit card this month itself.
Oh, okay. Okay, nice.
So
nice.
by the time the card comes out, I think
It could kickstart that. Actually, quite interesting one in this space. I think if you think in terms of digital bank, what touch point, let's say you apply mortgage, maybe you don't have to go to a branch anymore. So I had a friend who just bought property and started to apply loans, had to go to a branch, go to a few branches, take one day, half day off, and go and send documents and all that. Hey, you have to take half day off, But maybe with digital bank, you don't have to anymore. And there's no more a salesperson to tell you, hey, you need to buy MRTA lah.
yeah.
Because you don't actually have to buy MRTA for a housing loan. So maybe all these middle people or all this sales stuff are no longer necessary with the digital bank.
Yeah, so a lot of people has been wondering, right? Many Malaysian banks are already trying to digitalize themselves. So why do we still need digital bank? But if you think about it, right, all these conventional banks, right, even though they are digitalized, but a lot of all these transactions, especially if it is related to security, they will still require you to walk into a bank branch to do verification and to do other kind of paperwork.
Yep.
But the essence of a digital bank is you don't need to walk to a branch. So all these things will be done in your phone itself. Maybe that is a good selling point, especially to Gen Z and younger people, right?
When you apply credit card, your loan, your car loan, house loan, these are very typical things that you apply as an adult, right? Eventually you apply credit card, all that. So yeah, it will make banking even more interesting over the next few years because they've got 5 years to sort of prove their
Correct.
profitability, right? Their run rate, right?
Correct.
Yeah, talk about banks also. The Bukit Aman Commercial Investigation Department, based on the SemakMule system, which is sort of a check mule account. A mule account meaning to say like you let someone to use your account as like a highway to transfer money, to transfer sort of illegal funds, like all these scams that has been happening. There are 160,000 accounts that were listed on SemakMule's database.
Wow.
Yeah, so since its development back in 2018, this website was visited 24 million times. So if you are suspicious of someone or check their bank account or phone number in the SemakMule, check it out because scams are rampant. You've seen, we spoke about it last time. People got scammed for like gold investment, shopping investment, job opportunity, part-time. Someone texted me this week, hey, you want to work part-time?
I also got that kind of text. Oh, do you need a job, right? That kind of stuff.
Remember to check any suspicious account that you have at the SemakMule website.
Bro, by the way, do you know how much a traditional Chinese medicine outlet, the store, the Yok Choi Po, how much do you think they are worth?
Actually, I've been to one, right? And I've seen the inventory itself, I think it's quite expensive one because they would have ginseng, they would have all this like, what's it called? Scallops, dried scallops.
Bird nest.
Bird nest. I would say inventory-wise,
not just inventory, the whole shop value.
Maybe 2 million.
2 million
maybe
or so, right?
2 million. I would think around that range with this considering inventory also .
Okay. So if you own 100 shop, then potentially the value of your business is about 200 million ringgit, right?
Okay on an asset basis, Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure you're familiar with this TCM brand called Yu Yan Sang.
Yep.
Right,
Yep.
so Yu Yan Sang actually started in Malaysia, but then for some reason they incorporated a new company in Singapore, and then it got listed on Singapore Stock Exchange, but eventually it got privatized in 2016. So when they were privatized in 2016, they were valued at about 196 million US dollar.
Oh.
Why are they valued so much? Is because they have 170 retail outlets in mainland China, Hong Kong, Macau, Malaysia, Singapore. So they're everywhere, right?
I thought it was ringgit only. This is
US
dollars. And that was 2016.
2016. And apart from that, they also operate 30 TCM clinics in Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and
For those who don't know TCM, it's traditional Chinese medicine.
The traditional Chinese medicine, correct. So what happened is that, after a few years after they privatized, I think they are ready to, what's the word?
Unlock value again.
Yes, they are ready to unlock the value of their business again. So they have been trying to look for buyers, and they have finalized 2 buyers. One is called Hill House. The other one is a Japanese company, Mitsui & Co. Right? They have emerged as the final bidders for Yu Yan Sang, and they are valuing the company at 700 million US dollar.
Just selling bird nests.
and Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine.
And like ginseng. Wow. Lucrative business,
Yeah. So first, let us understand a little bit about these 2 bidders, right? The first one is Hill House. It's an investment firm founded by a Chinese-born deal maker called Lei Zhang. He already has a minority interest in the past before Yu Yan Sang was delisted in 2016. right? The other one, Mitsui. I think Mitsui is a well-known investor around the world, right? They also have an indirect interest in Yuansang by the way of having participated in 2022 in a Tower Capital Asia fund that is an investor of Yuansang. So in a span of 8 years, they've managed to increase the value of this Chinese medicine business from close to $200 million to $700 million. That is super impressive. I always thought that not many people would go to Chinese traditional medicine store to buy their stuff, right? Only during Chinese New Year, maybe, because they want to buy gifts and
buy
exchange.
hampers and all
Correct,
that.
buy hampers and all that.
Yeah.
But wow, this is just amazing to me.
But I think there is also some sort of awareness towards TCM. People are also more receptive towards TCM today. Like I've got friends who last time would go to Western clinics, right, to sort of get their illness. I mean, my mum would go to TCM, very normal. But the younger folks would tend to go to clinics.
Yeah.
But people are receptive to TCM.
Yeah.
Because, it's a different technique, I would think, right? Because Chinese medicine heals the inside, whereas Western medicine heals the outside. The symptoms, rather.
So perhaps the moral of the story here is that no matter what business venture you go into, there's always a way for you to increase the value for the stakeholders of the business. And probably that will give you more motivation to start your own business.
Yeah. And dominate the world.
Wow.
Speaking of domination, we are also going to see Japan's two largest convenience store chains, 7-Eleven and Lawson. They are planning to dominate the Asia Pacific market by opening 10,000 stores by February 2026.
Ooh, 10,000.
And especially in Southeast Asia, right, they're trying to capitalize on the middle class population. There is apparently a threshold at what point people would cross and shop at convenience store. There is a threshold one. There is a per capita GDP. Once a per capita GDP of a country exceeds $3,000, which is about 14,000 ringgit, the convenience store, right, it will become more and more, more popular,
More receptive.
more and more receptive. People will be more and more receptive once that GDP threshold is crossed, right? So that is apparently some conventional wisdom lah. In Japan itself, from their home market, right, they already have 53,000 stores as of last February. And with this another 10,000 stores coming, they will have 63,000 convenience stores. Do you shop at convenience stores?
Only when I need convenience.
Only when really necessary, right? Like when nothing else is open, when
Correct.
no other supermarkets are open. Like I think in case of Malaysia, it's very applicable because things close at 10.
Correct.
Right? Anything else is then going to be 7-Eleven, KK, or your family marts, right?
In the Malaysia context, right, I think the Malaysian culture to go to a convenience store is only for a handful of reasons. One is for cigarette.
Yeah.
One is for beer, maybe. And yeah, the third one is probably for convenience.
For emergency.
For emergencies. Like suddenly you want to buy Panadol or something. You go to 7-Eleven in the middle of the night. Right? Probably just that few reasons. But when you say they want to dominate Southeast Asia, maybe it makes more sense to some countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, I'm not so sure. But maybe if they want to do that in Malaysia, I'm not sure whether it is such a viable or feasible move to actually come to Malaysia.
Because already so quite saturated also lah. You got your KK.
Yeah, and you think about it,
MSP
Malaysia is quite saturated already, right? You have KK Mart, you have 7-Eleven, you have My News.
Oh yeah, there's My News.
And you have all these smaller popping up like Bila Bila Mart, So I'm not so sure what is the strategy of these Japanese people if they are trying to come to Malaysia. The success rate is questionable. Okay, so speaking of expansion, remember last year we have one IPO, MST Golf. Right, MST Golf, they are the largest chain of golf specialty retailer in this part of the world. So during the IPO, they raised about close to 130 million ringgit. So they split this proceed into two portions. Half of it, or almost half of it, will be used to expand their business in countries like Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Right? And the other portion of it will be used to expand their stores in Malaysia and Singapore. And they have started to make their first move. So according to the founder and CEO of the company, they have spent 10 million ringgit to open a 17,000 square feet outlet located in La Piazza Samarakon Mall in Jakarta.
Ooh.
And they are not going to stop there. So through their 5149 JV, where MST owns 51%, if I'm not wrong, they are going to open at least 5 more retail stores in Jakarta alone in 2024.
Is that a big demand for golf?
Yes, I think more and more people, especially young people, are starting to pick up golf. And if you think about it, actually a lot of golfers, they like to come to Southeast Asia to play golf. Maybe because of the weather, and then they can also try out different terrains. So from what I know, a lot of Thai, a lot of Koreans, a lot of Japanese, they like to come to this part of the world to play golf.
I think I've heard about the Koreans and Japanese because it's cheaper also lah.
Yes,
For them, it's cheaper to come and play here, right? I mean, to come and swing here.
Yeah, so MST golf share price performance has not been very good in 2023. Partly because, after they did the IPO, they were fairly quiet about their expansion plan. So right now, with this news coming out, I think they are starting to deploy their money in the places that they are supposed to. So hopefully 2024, it's a year of expansion for them. And going forward, all this profitable will start to kick in, and then the value can go up a little bit.
Before we wrap this week's news up, there's also one more good news to be shared to everyone, right? If you're expecting a salary increment today, it's going to be at about 5% for this year. Slightly lower than last year. Last year was 5.6, but this is according to HR consulting firm, WTW. So they have surveyed about 600 companies that employ about 320,000 employees in Malaysia. That is the expected increment for this year. If more, support us lah.
Alright, so that's all we have for this week's Weekly Roundup. If you missed any part of this content and if you want to
read more, you want to know more news?
Yep, you can always go and subscribe to the Coffee Break, or alternatively, now you can also go to Spotify and look out for FAQ Show. The channel is called the FAQ Show, and you can tune in to our Weekly Roundup there as well.
If you like my voice and Frankie's voice, listen to it every day when you drive to work.
Okay, so that's all we have for this week. Hope to see you guys again. Signing off.
Ciao.